picture this. You're on a cruise ship. It feels like this massive, self-contained world, right? All leisure and escape, thousands of people around, open sea. Now imagine someone just vanishing from that ship without a trace, no call, no body, just gone. It's almost unbelievable, and it's the core of our deep dive today.
It really is chilling.
We're talking about Amy Lynn Bradley. She's 23, just graduated college, and she disappeared from the cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas way back on March 24th, 1998. This is a family vacation.
And nearly 27 years later, still nothing definitive. It's one of the most, well, perplexing missing persons cases out there.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to really sift through the sources, piece together that timeline as best we can. We need to look at all the conflicting theories. Was it an accident, kidnapping, foul play? Did she leave voluntarily?
And also the impact, right? What this case meant for cruise ship safety investigations.
Yeah.
It's had long-lasting effects.
Exactly. We want to explore why, after all this time, it's still such an enigma, and we want to do that exploration with you, our listener. So first off, who was Amy Lynn Bradley before this happened, to really get the weight of it?
Well, she was born May 12, 1974. From Chesterfield County, Virginia. She'd just graduated from Longwood University.
And she was athletic, right? Known for basketball.
Yeah, very athletic. She was on the 7-day Caribbean cruise with her parents, Ron and Iva, and her younger brother, Brad. They sailed from San Juan, heading to Aruba and Curacao. Just a normal family trip, seemingly.
Okay, let's unpack this timeline because it's incredibly tight. The critical night and morning.
Yeah, Monday, March 23rd, 1998. Amy and her brother Brad, they went to a Mardi Gras party on the ship, then a midnight buffet.
Standard crew stuff.
Pretty much. Later, they hit the ship's disco, dancing, socializing. Amy was seen specifically with Alistair Yellow Douglas. He was the bassist for the ship's band, Blue Orchid.
And there's video of this.
Yep, video footage confirmed Amy dancing with Douglas. So Brad heads back to the cabin around 3:30 a.m. Amy follows just a few minutes later, maybe 3:45 a.m.
Okay, so they're back in the cabin.
Right. And they chat out on the balcony for a while until about, say, 5:30 a.m. Then her dad, Ron, he sees her. He says he saw her asleep in a chair out there on the balcony sometime between 5:15 and 5:30 a.m. on that Tuesday morning, March 24th.
Okay.
But then when Ron wakes up again, maybe between 6:30 and 6:30 a.m., Amy's gone.
Just gone.
Gone. And the weird details start piling up. Her cigarettes and lighter, missing. Yeah. But her shoes, still in the cabin.
Shoes left behind. That feels significant somehow.
It's ambiguous, isn't it? Was she taken unwillingly, no time for shoes, or did she just step out planning to come right back?
And this all happens in, what, 30 minutes? An hour? Max?
Yeah, a really, really narrow window. And this, for investigators back then, it must have been, well, infuriating, like you said. Especially with the lack of tech. Absolutely. That's the crux of it, really. The lack of, 1998 era cell phones being ubiquitous, no key card tracking systems like we have now. It created this total black box. We just have no solid record of her movements, who she might have met, nothing concrete in those crucial minutes. It just crippled the initial investigation from the start. It's like trying to investigate with, one hand tied behind your back.
To today, you'd have phone pings, key card swipes everywhere, CCTV footage.
Exactly, a digital trail. Back then, it was like she vanished into thin air, digitally speaking.
Which makes those little details like the shoes.
They become huge points of speculation, yeah. Because there's just so little else to go on. Did she leave them because she was forced out? Or did she just pop out for a smoke, intending to return immediately? It allows for so many different reads.
Okay, so Amy's gone. The family realizes this pretty quickly. What did they do?
Instantly. They reported her missing, and they were begging the ship's staff, don't put the gangway down, don't let anyone off the ship.
They suspected foul play right away.
Immediately. They stressed, Amy wouldn't just leave without telling them, without a note, especially not for long.
But the cruise line, Royal Caribbean, their response wasn't quite as urgent, was it? It sounds, frankly, infuriating.
It was controversial, to say the least. The cruise director apparently kept suggesting she must have fallen or jumped overboard.
Despite the family insisting that wasn't like her at all.
Right. And the purser's office initially said it was too early for a ship-wide announcement. They didn't make one until 7:50 a.m.
7:50 a.m. But the ship was docking in Curacao then, wasn't it?
Exactly. By that time, a huge chunk of the 2,400 passengers had already disembarked, gone ashore.
Oh, wow. So the chance to contain the situation
was massively reduced, yeah. And a proper, thorough search of all 10 decks, all 999 rooms. That didn't happen until between 12:15 p.m. and 1:00 p.m.
Hours later.
Hours. And the ship, it just stuck to its schedule, left Curacao, continued the cruise.
Here's where it gets really interesting, or frankly infuriating, that response.
It's widely seen as a critical failure. From an investigative perspective, allowing potentially thousands of people off the ship before a real search.
It's like opening the doors during a lockdown.
Precisely. It created this huge opportunity. If Amy left, willingly or unwillingly, she could blend into the crowd. If someone else was involved, it's a chance to get away, dispose of evidence. It just drastically cut the odds of finding her or finding clues on board. It really highlighted the problems with cruise line protocols back then.
And then you have the jurisdiction issue. International waters.
Another layer of complication. Yeah, it happened somewhere between Aruba and Curacao. So whose responsibility is it?
A jurisdictional nightmare.
Totally. You have the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard doing a 4-day search. Then the FBI gets involved. They question Alistair Yellow Douglas. But it's all fragmented. Different agencies, different countries. It just slows everything down and creates potential gaps. Not ideal for a missing person case needing urgent action.
So with these facts laid out, this chaotic initial response, the missing hour, what are the leading theories about what happened to Amy? Where do investigators and the family look?
Well, the theories really branch out. The first one, pushed early on by authorities, was an accidental fall overboard.
Okay, the simple explanation. She was out late, maybe drinking, last seen on the balcony.
Right. It seems plausible on the surface.
Yeah.
Late night, balcony. It's the simplest scenario.
But
big buts. Nobody was ever found, despite searches. And investigators, importantly, found no evidence that Amy fell overboard, was pushed, or committed suicide. And remember, she was a trained lifeguard.
right, that detail. A trained lifeguard isn't typically someone you'd expect to accidentally fall off a ship.
Exactly. It makes an accidental fall seem much less likely. The family absolutely rejected this theory from day one.
Okay, so if not an accident, what's next? The family has a strong belief, don't they?
They do. Their primary theory, the one they've held on to, is kidnapping and human trafficking.
And this isn't just speculation for them, right? It's fueled by alleged sightings.
Multiple alleged sightings, yeah. And what's striking is the consistency in some of the details, especially about her tattoos.
Tell us about those sightings.
Okay, so August 1998, just a few months after she vanished, 2 Canadian divers are on a beach in Curacao, Playa Porta Marie. They see a woman who looks strongly like Amy.
Okay.
She's with 2 men described as aggressive. One of the divers, David Carmichael, later said one of the men might have even been Alistair Douglas, the bassist.
What?
Carmichael was certain enough that he testified before a federal grand jury. He noted her specific tattoos, the Tasmanian devil, the sun, the Chinese symbol, the gecko lizard. He even mentioned a watch she wore. And he said she seemed distressed, like she tried to communicate non-verbally when she heard him speaking English. Looked at him, then looked down. He said he was 100% sure it was her.
That's incredibly compelling. And there were others.
Yes. January 1999, again in Curacao, a U.S. Navy petty officer, Bill Hefner, claimed he met a woman in a brothel there. She apparently told him her name was Amy, that she had hopped off of a cruise ship to score drugs, and was now being held against her will.
That fits the trafficking narrative.
It does. Then jump forward to 2005, in Barbados this time. A woman named Judy Maurer was in a public restroom. She said she overheard men ambushing an emotional woman, telling her a deal was imminent. When Maurer asked the woman her name, she apparently replied, Amy. Also in 2005, the family received an anonymous tip. It led them to a sex worker website. The FBI did a forensic analysis and found one woman in the photos bore a striking resemblance to Amy.
My goodness. And what about the IP address?
Ah, yes, that's another piece the family holds on to. An IP address originating from Curacao and Barbados consistently visits the family's website, the one dedicated to finding Amy.
Consistently when?
Around holidays, her birthday, the anniversary of her disappearance, stays for about 45 minutes each time. The FBI couldn't trace it specifically, but the family hopes. They hope it's Amy somehow reaching out, checking in.
Wow. That gives you chills. But from an official standpoint...
That's the problem. It's the unverifiable sighting conundrum. These stories are powerful, especially with the tattoo details, and give the family hope. But legally, they're delayed, uncorroborated by other evidence. They don't meet the standard needed for authorities to really act decisively. It's agonizing.
And there's skepticism too, right?
Yeah.
About the whole idea of kidnapping someone off a cruise ship like that.
Yeah, online commentators, other observers, they question the feasibility. Targeting a specific middle-class American woman on a crowded ship, getting her off without anyone noticing, it seems difficult, maybe improbable to some.
Okay, so if not accidental and kidnapping is unproven, what about foul play or murder on board the ship itself?
That's another strong possibility explored. The directors of that Netflix documentary, Amy Bradley is Missing, they suggested she might have been murdered on board and maybe her body was removed when the ship docked in Curacao.
And the focus often comes back to Alistair Yellow Douglas, the bassist.
He's the only person ever publicly named as a suspect, yes. Some witnesses claim they saw Amy with him on an upper deck after her father last saw her sleeping somewhere between 5:30 and 5:45 a.m.
So, in that missing window.
Exactly. And they said Douglas was seen leaving that area alone shortly after 6:30 a.m. There were even some allegations he might have given her a drink with some kind of dark liquid in it.
That sounds ominous.
It does, and there's more circumstantial suspicion. Douglas's own daughter, Amica, later said she had reservations about her father's behavior when he came back from that cruise.
Really?
Yeah. And Amy's brother, Brad, recalled Douglas approaching him that morning, expressing sorrow about Amy before her disappearance was even widely known on board, which is odd, to say the least.
Very odd. But Douglas was never charged.
No. And this is the classic suspect but uncharged situation. He denied any involvement. He voluntarily took an FBI polygraph test
And passed.
and passed it. Searches of his cabin, his belongings, turned up nothing incriminating. So despite all the suspicion, the witness accounts placing him with her near the time she vanished, there was no direct physical evidence linking him to her disappearance or potential murder, not enough to bring charges.
So another dead end, legally speaking. What about the idea she just left? Voluntary disappearance.
It's a theory that gets mentioned, but it honestly lacks much support. Given she left her shoes, her connection to her family, the lack of any planning, it's generally seen as the least likely scenario by most involved.
Okay. And the sightings or potential clues didn't stop in the early years, did they?
No, they trickled in. There was a claim from a couple in San Francisco in 2003 saying they saw her, but that lead went nowhere. Then you have those 2005 incidents we mentioned, Judy Marr in the Barbados restroom, the anonymous tip about the website. Always these glimmers, but nothing solid.
And then came something truly awful. This next part really highlights the vulnerability families face when a loved one goes missing. The Frank Jones situation.
Oh, that was just cruel. Utterly cruel. It underscores how desperate families become and how predators can exploit that hope.
What happened exactly?
This guy, Frank Jones, contacted the Bradleys in the fall of 1999. He emailed them claiming he was a former U.S. Army Special Forces officer, said his team had seen Amy being held by heavily armed Colombians in Curacao.
Oh my God. He gave them hope.
He did more than that. He provided accurate descriptions of her tattoos, details that weren't widely public. He even somehow knew a lullaby Amy's mother used to sing to her, and he sang it to them. He completely gained their trust.
Unbelievable.
They believed he could rescue her. They ended up paying him $210,000. A lot of that money actually came from a national missing children's organization trying to help.
And it was all a lie.
A complete fabrication. He was a con artist. He'd staged photos, made it all up. He eventually pleaded guilty to mail fraud in 2002, got sentenced to 5 years in prison, ordered to repay the money, but the emotional damage. You can't repay that.
That is just devastating. Taking advantage of people at their absolute lowest point.
It's a particularly vile kind of opportunism, preying on that desperate hope.
And even potential physical evidence led nowhere. That jawbone found in Aruba in 2010.
Right. It washed ashore. There was immediate speculation. Could it be Amy or maybe Natalie Holloway, who disappeared in Aruba in 2005?
Another tragic case.
Indeed. Dental records quickly ruled out Natalie Holloway. But here's the frustrating part: further testing to see if it could be Amy's. It just wasn't conducted.
Why not?
It's unclear exactly why the resources weren't allocated or the follow-through didn't happen, but it stands as another potential clue, another chance for some kind of answer that was just missed, a real lost opportunity.
So, stepping back from the specifics of Amy's case for a moment, what does this all mean for the bigger picture? For safety on cruise ships? For how these things are handled?
Well, before 2010, the landscape was very different. There were no mandatory federal rules forcing cruise lines to report crimes or disappearances to U.S. law enforcement if they happened in international waters.
Seriously. So it's kind of up to the cruise line.
Pretty much. Incidents often stayed internal or got tangled in those complex international jurisdiction issues we talked about. Amy's case, especially with Royal Caribbean's delayed response and letting passengers disembark, really threw those gaps into sharp relief.
It became a sort of case study in what not to do.
In many ways, yes. And it wasn't just Amy's case. There were others, like George Smith IV, who disappeared from a cruise ship in 2005, and Rebecca Corium in 2011. These cases collectively built pressure.
Pressure for change.
Exactly. They fueled a landmark piece of legislation. The Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, or CVSSA, passed in 2010.
Okay, so what did CVSSA actually do? How did it change things?
It was a fundamental shift. Before CVSSA, cruise lines were largely self-policing in international waters. After CVSSA, passenger safety became mandated by U.S. federal law for ships visiting U.S. ports.
So what are the key requirements now?
Several big ones. First, mandatory reporting. Cruise lines have to log and report serious incidents, homicides, suspicious deaths, missing U.S. nationals, kidnappings, assaults to the FBI and the U.S. Coast Guard. No more discretion.
That seems crucial.
Absolutely. Second, security measures. Things like requiring ship rails to be at least 42 inches high, mandating surveillance systems in certain areas. Third, evidence preservation and crew training. Rules about how to handle potential crime scenes, how to gather evidence, and training for crew on prevention and response.
And transparency.
Yes, that's key too. Cruise lines have to provide written reports of incidents to a publicly accessible U.S. Coast Guard internet portal, so there's more public accountability.
So has it worked? Are cruises safer now?
Statistically, yes, major crimes are rare considering the millions who cruise. But people still go missing. Estimates are around 400 people over the last 20 years or so have vanished from cruise ships or during port calls.
Still a significant number.
It is, though, again, a tiny fraction of passengers. And the reasons remain varied: accidental falls, sadly, suicides, incidents happening ashore in ports. CVSSA provides a framework, but it can't prevent everything.
Amy's legacy in all this.
Her case remains this stark, persistent reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist, especially when you cross into international waters. Her family is incredibly active. They maintain her website. They still hold on to hope. The FBI still has a reward out. And recent media, like that Netflix doc, keeps her story in the public consciousness.
It keeps the pressure on, perhaps.
It does, and it underscores why these safety protocols, transparent reporting, and crucially, international cooperation are so vital. It's about learning from cases like Amy's to hopefully prevent future tragedies, or at least ensure that when something does happen, the response is immediate, thorough, and coordinated.
So wrapping this up, the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley from the Rhapsody of the Seas, it just remains this deeply unsettling, unresolved puzzle, doesn't it?
Completely. You have the lack of a body, these theories pulling in opposite directions, those tantalizing but unverified sightings. There's just no closure.
And that initial response by the cruise line, the delays, letting people off the ship, it undeniably hampered the investigation right from the start. It really showed the flaws in the system back then.
Big time. Critical errors in a critical window.
Yet the Bradley family, their belief that she was abducted, possibly trafficked,
Right.
it's so strong, and it's fueled by those consistent details in the sightings, especially the tattoos or apparent distress.
That conviction, sustained by those specific repeated details like the tattoos, gives them a thread of hope to cling to, even after all these years. They haven't given up.
It's truly remarkable resilience.
It is. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, as you think about Amy's story. What really stands out to you about these kinds of unsolved mysteries, where you have so many pieces, but they just don't fit together?
Yeah, how does that intense human need for answers, for closure, wrestle with the cold, hard reality that sometimes the evidence just isn't there, especially when it's someone you love who's vanished? It's a tough thing to grapple with.